everybody. Thank you for joining us on the first
Morning.
Ask the Expert session. Really, I wanted to get these things going in this time of sort of uncertainty, an opportunity for the community to come together and ask questions of the people that know the answers. So I'm trying to get together a whole series of these put together. So we've got Sharon today. I'm a financial accountant on Thursday. We've got somebody talking about wellness. I've got somebody talking about local government support. So a whole series of different topics. So it should be quite good. But today we're focusing on finance. And something that's really important, burning issue for a lot of people, obviously. So Sharon, if you don't know, is from Choice Business Loans, a local Buckinghamshire-based business, and they are absolutely brilliant at sorting out finance for businesses that potentially the banks won't necessarily help with. And has many sources of alternative finance. So that's my introduction. Sharon, maybe you want to give your introduction, and if you could give us a brief sort of overview of the situation as you see it, and then we can just open the floor for questions from anybody that's here.
Fabulous. Thank you, Chris, for the kind introduction. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all this sunny morning. Despite us all having to be inside. We are commercial finance brokers, but right now what we're trying to achieve for anyone that we can talk to is a really good background of what's available to you and what's available from the government, what's available from your HMRCs, and what's available to you in general, and how to now start to get yourself in place to get these things over the line. It's a bit long and it's a bit complicated, and I don't have all the answers at this moment in time, but I'm going to go through what I do know, take any questions at the end, and hopefully can do that. So we're going to start with some information that was released last night. So the Parliament has been talking about self-employed, yay, and the freelancers who desperately need some help. So what they are looking to do is to do a payment to you guys, a monthly payment based on the average of your last 3 years self-assessment. And so that will be based on a monthly up to about £2,900 as a maximum. But if your self-assessments are falling in slightly more than that, a lower amount will be taken. How we get this, we do not know, and it has not passed yet, but that is what they have put in writing. And that is what I can say. I'll send it all to Chris on an email anyway, so you've got it. So that's really good news. And they're moving really, really fast to get this for you. So that's brilliant. The other thing they've done for self-employed and freelancers are, I've just got to look at my notes because there's so much here. Self-assessment payments are now deferred to 2021. Okay, deferred, not written off. They are also deferring VAT until June, so don't pay that yet. HMRC are also being very proactive on time to pay. So if you do have a bill coming up, then do contact HMRC fairly quickly for time to pay. And they've also opened up the benefit system for self-employed and freelancers that may not qualify. I appreciate it's rubbish, but you don't have to wait now. You can just go and you can get some money from that. From the bank's perspective, for personal finances, which is obviously really important for self-employed, if you need to have a break from your mortgage payments, speak to your mortgage provider. 3 months is what they've been given to give you, and they have to do that. I caveat this with one thing. When you talk to them, and if you want this, anybody you're talking to about deferring payments, tell them you do not want it affecting your credit file. That's really important. If you don't ask, they may put something on your credit file, which could be obviously slightly annoying later on when you go for some more finance. So really important that you put that. It's all on recorded lines. So if they do put something on your credit file, they can note the time and the date that you spoke to them and say, I asked for this not to be done, you agreed, and then they'll have to remove it. Okay? So those bits. The government are also giving away some money, so some grants, and this really only applies to any of you that have a premises, whether you pay rates or don't pay rates. If you're on the small rate scheme, small business rate scheme, that just means that you don't have to pay, you can get some money. This will automatically be applied by your local council, which is a worry in itself. There we go. We all know how swift they can be. But the directive is that they have to do that. So they will come back to you fairly quickly if you, so there's no action required. Sick pay, as self-employed people, if you do come down sick, you can now claim sick pay up to £200 as well. So that's quite important as well. And that could be the difference between paying a bill or not if you are really having to self-isolate and become ill. To get your sick note, I think you just go onto NHS website and you print one off, basically, because it's fairly simple. We've all heard about the loan that's coming out to save the world. So I just want to cover this very briefly because you can go for this loan. So they are taking an existing loan called the Enterprise Finance Guarantee Scheme. Now the Enterprise Finance Guarantee works like this. The government backs the loan, as in like an insurance. So if the loan for any reason isn't repaid by the person that takes it out, and then everything has been done to recover that loan, the government will back it to the value now of 80%. Doesn't mean to say you're not liable for it. You are liable for that loan, but what it does is it just gives the banks or whomever is lending that money a little bit more security where they can't go after someone's house, effectively. That's what this means. So, excuse me, dry cough, careful. Lucky you can't catch anything through Zoom. The banks this is the bank's money. So if you didn't qualify for this loan last week, before it all kicked off, you're not going to qualify for the loan this week. I hate to be very brutal about it, but that is the fact. So the banks obviously have fairly strict criteria when it comes to these loans, and every single bank is slightly different, sadly, which makes it a bit more complex. There are, however, other providers out there who are less stringent than the bank that we can access as well. We have access to those too. But once again, they all have very different criteria. So the bank's criteria would normally be along the lines of 2 to 3 years trading, profitable, and they would want you to ideally be a homeowner, but not have enough equity in your home for them to physically secure against it. And that would be an ideal situation for the bank. That situation, I don't believe, is going to change very much, other than the fact that some people up until last week were making brilliant profits, and then it all just fell off the cliff. And that's the people that the bank are looking to support with this particular loan. How to get yourself ready to apply for this loan? Pretty simple, and some hints and tips on how to do that. Firstly, you need to get your accounts in order. So any accounts that you have, ideally for the last 2 years, your self-assessments, if that's what they're working on as well, for the last 2 years. 6 months business bank statement, so you can prove how profitable your business has been up to that point. A statement as to how coronavirus or COVID-19 has directly affected your business. That's really important. So you can say, I had everything going, and all of a sudden all my orders stopped, and I'm no longer earning. The other thing that they will need, I find slightly bizarre, as it's slightly unknown, our future, is a cash flow forecast. So understanding all of your outgoings for your business, what it costs you to survive as well, any staff that you keep on, something I'll cover in a second, but any staff that you may have, and what that looks like going forward. And I suggest in that 12 to 24 month cash flow forecast that you're doing, in 6 months' time, you start the recovery period of where your business may pick up. And the reason we're saying 3 to 6 months is that the experts suggest that summertime and the heat will kill off the virus. And so by killing off, I'm really sorry, this is my dog. Sorry, apologies. I have two, they're both very noisy. So 6 months' time is the recovery period, and that's how your business then will recover from them. Does that make sense? So how your business will then start to drip feed back in, and at what point will you be where you were before all this started? That's what they want to see, that vision. They're not going to hold you to this, because we realise that it could turn around in 3 months, we realise it could turn around in 6 or 8 or wherever. They just want to know that you've got a bit of a grasp on that. So that's the loan. The loan side as well, I have to warn you, is it's going to be more expensive than you expect. It'll be cheap. The cheapest place to go is the bank. And if the bank won't help you, then the alternative providers will step in. But I think you're looking at 16% APR. Some good news though. Some good news. Yeah, Chris, I know, it's expensive. The banks will be cheaper. The good news is that normally you would pay a 2% levy on this particular loan, and that has been cancelled. The government will cover your first 12-month interest payment, and the government will cover any fees that the lender attaches to that, because obviously there is a cost involved in putting these forward. So that's really good news. The bad news is that you have to claim that back. That's all. It's not a given. You have to claim it back off the government. How we do that, we still don't know. It's work in progress. I think from my perspective and how I would be looking at this would be, you have 12-month interest-free loan possibilities. So the interest rate for the first 12 months really is negligible. And ideally, in 12 months' time, one would like to think that your business is back on an even keel, at which point you want to be looking at paying off that loan as quickly as possible. My general understanding, and it will vary from lender to lender, is you can overpay, you can repay early, you can save on interest, and it won't cost you anything to do so. So having 12 months interest free actually is really good, because it allows you as a business to turn that around pretty darn quickly. Don't cut yourself short and take too little if that's what you're looking to do, but also don't take too much. You may want to think about how much it's going to cost you to pay back those loan repayments in the first 6 months, because you may not have the cash flow to cover that. So just balance that act carefully if you go ahead and do that. Okay. If any of you are on PAYE, don't forget that if you are furlonged or furlong yourself, it doesn't cover dividends, sadly, but PAYE this does cover. The government will pay 80% of your wages every month for 3 months. So that's really good news as well. But it only accounts if you're on PAYE. You just got to speak to HMRC about that.
Sharon, can you explain what furlong actually means?
Oh, it's a stupid bloody word, isn't it? It's just so annoying. It just means someone put on a leave of absence without actually losing their job. That's all it means. So you're currently not working, but you will then be going back into work. It's just the business can't afford to keep its doors open at this time. Therefore, once the crisis has passed, the doors will reopen and then the people will come back in. It's just a stupid word. They should just call it leave of absence. But there we go, not to worry. And it just stops people being made redundant, effectively, is the point, I think. Especially with the shops all now closing. They're going to reopen, but they want to reopen with staff. And ideally, people want to be paying their mortgages, of course, and their bills moving forward. So for the next 3 months, the idea is that that is paid. The business still, however, has to stump up that 20%. But better than nothing, frankly. That's everything. That is pretty much everything that we've got at the moment. Things will change. Things are changing really quickly. It's all just it's all a very big change out there. The landscape is not set yet for anything at all. Hi Sharon, just to confirm that the 8% is not able to claim if staff are still working. Correct. If your staff is still working, you cannot claim that back. They have to be physically out of the door and no longer working. Okay, does that make sense? Any other questions for anyone?
Yeah, I have a question, young Sharon.
Go for it.
My company's only been running officially for 1 year. I haven't quite met the 2 year, and I'm not a limited company. So this last 3 years, how the hell is that going to work for me?
The answer is we don't know. That has not been explained.
That's not good enough.
At this point in time, I know. They might just take the last 12 months, Tony, and they might say, well, your last self-assessment shows this, and they do it just on that last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Or you might be in that sad catching situation where they say you just got to go for benefits, you're not earning enough anyway. I don't know is the answer. There is no answer to that. I was saying to Chris earlier, I think they're doing the 3 years because they're hoping that 3 years ago is when people started their business, and therefore will bring the mean average down slightly moving forward. So they might accept a 12-month trading business or less.
Okay. Well, if you're here before me, if you let me know, I'd appreciate it, darling.
Naturally, of course I will. No problem at all. Any other questions? No questions?
Has anybody tried accessing any funding up to date?
No.
Well, I can tell you that all of our lenders have changed their criteria. So anybody I would normally go to, if you're in the leisure industry, hospitality, anything like that at all, retail, it's a no from them. If you're still a strong business, they will lend. They're quite happy to do so. But the criteria has changed. So I need things like a year's worth of bank statements rather than 3 months now. I need to have a statement on COVID-19. I need to have all these different things to help people move forward. It has changed completely. I think my one bit of advice would be, if you do want to look for the loan, go to your bank. Pick up the phone, register your interest with the bank today, and make sure you do that. Because I think their process, I just don't know how they're going to deliver it effectively to as many people as they need to deliver it to. I think their response time now is between 5 and 10 days. So you need to get in there and put your want of an application in to your bank. You can also use someone like myself, or just have a look online, but you can maybe use a secondary lender to talk to as well if you've been trading long enough. Tony, you wouldn't have been you're trading long enough only for one other lender, and another lender is a minimum trading of 2 years, minimum turnover £100,000. You know, so they all have different criteria. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But your best bet is there's a free phone number. I can give it to you if you want it now. You've got a pen there, guys. Darling, it's 0800.
0800.
Yep. 015 9559.
9559. Okay, got it. Thank you, Sharon.
That's all right, you're welcome. So the best thing to start to do now is start talking to these people, start having that conversation with HMRC, ask them what's going to happen, bearing in mind that what we discussed first has not yet actually been released. But talk to them about the time to pay, talk to them about, God, if you've only just paid your VAT bill or something, if you can get a refund, you know, there's all sorts of things that they can maybe do for you. But starting that dialogue with them early is important. And even if you don't really need too much, talk to them anyway, because this is the first time they're ever going to be nice to you. It's just worth that. You might as well experience something good for a day and just have a chat with HMRC, who have to help you, much to their disgust. They're normally just chasing you down. So it's all good. There's always a silver line. somewhere. But what I will do, because Chris has everyone's emails and your groups and stuff, is every time something new comes up, I will send it to Chris and he can just send that information to you guys so you've got it. That's all right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And I'll be updating the Slack channel with all that information as and when it happens.
Okay.
And I shall send, Chris, I will send you everything in writing that I've just discussed. So if anybody's forgotten it and not really sure, I can give that to you. So you've got that on there as well. Okay.
Oh, brilliant. One of the things I picked up on was the, heaven forbid, the actual sick pay for self-employed. I wasn't aware of that, to be honest. What's the process for that, if it should happen?
Right. I'm going to have to read this for you. Where is it? Sick pay, sick pay. SMEs will be able to reclaim the cost of up to 2 weeks sick pay, approximately £200 per employee. That applies to you guys as well, is my understanding. So what the government said initially was the government has said it will make it quicker and easier for self-employed people affected by coronavirus to access benefits. This includes sick pay. The Chancellor said that those on contributory employment and support allowance, ESA, will be able to claim from day 1 instead of day 8. He also is temporarily, easy for you to say, removing the income minimum income floor from universal credit. The minimum income floor would have taken into account how much somebody would normally expect to earn in a month when calculating their entitlement to universal credit. So if all else fails, the benefit system should be there to back you up a little bit.
However, I read this morning that, you know, if you're in a household, somebody with a household income coming in and you have savings, you won't get a penny.
It's possible.
No, I heard that as well. Yeah.
It is possible. But not everybody is in that lucky situation.
No, no.
The horrible thing, I'm dealing with people at the moment, self-employed, they're both self-employed and both their incomes are gone. You know, and they've got young families as well, because it's crazy. So I think things will change, and I think moving forward things will slacken for you. So don't worry too much if it hasn't quite worked in your favour yet. I think things will be brought back up. It's going to sound a bit crass, really, but if you are super worried about something in particular, do contact your local MPs, because they will take it to Parliament for you. And if there's enough of you coming together, you'll be heard, and they'll be able to make changes as well.
I think the petition that went online for self-employed reached its limit, so that was good.
Yeah, things happen really quickly, and you're not alone out there with what's going on. Trust me, you're not at all. Other options, not that I would suggest you do this, but if you've got mortgages and you can't seem to access any other money. Now, I'm not a personal money advisor, so this is just something I've been told by someone who is. Don't remortgage your first charge mortgage, because you may incur penalties, and you're probably on a really good rate today. But consider getting a second charge mortgage at a slightly higher rate, probably 4 to 6%, but still a lot cheaper than the loan, and do a second charge behind it for a shorter period of time. They have less penalties often coming out of them as well, and you can obviously amortize that over a longer period of time, which makes your repayments easier. Clearly the last ever resort that you should be doing, but don't cash in your first charge mortgage is the advice there, if you can help it.
Okay.
Credit card, also things to look at as well as credit cards, overdraft, anything that may be incurring you fees or you don't feel that you can afford to pay at the moment. 3 months, they're all been asked to give you 3 month payment holidays.
Okay.
So don't forget those bits and bobs that you can do today to make sure that you can change that. Okay.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Just for some of the bigger loan schemes, Are they being run by the local agencies, local authorities?
No. No.
Okay.
So there are different things out there that you can look at. So how do I put this? The banks will do the bigger loans, the bigger loans. There are enterprises that are out there, so that will do some of these loans as well. They are really hard to go through.
I was thinking more about the small business grant funding.
But the small business grant funding will come from the local authority. Yes, I beg your pardon, but that's only if you have a property.
Only if you have a.
If you have a rateable property that you work out of, or a non-rateable property. So if you are, just to be specifically correct here, so the grant of up to £10,000 for businesses that operate out of premises below the business rate threshold, and up. So yes. So if you're in retail, leisure, hospitality, you could get up to £25,000. And if you're below the rateable threshold, so you have your small business rate relief, you can get up to £10,000 grant. And this is automatically given to you, so you don't need to do anything about it. If you're in a premises that has a rateable value between £15,000 and £51,000, you will also be able to apply for that grant. It's all done automatically via the local authority. A lot of business owners like yourselves work from home, so you won't be in a rateable business rateable value.
That might be something for you, Simon.
Oh, yeah, and us.
Yeah. You got so that will happen automatically, Margot. We just don't know how quickly that's going to happen.
We don't have to apply.
You don't have to apply, no. Okay. So it's all done based on your rates. We are, what day are we now? The 24th of March. I think they're expecting these grants to be coming out early next month, and you will be written to by your local authority. You will also have 12 months worth of, if you pay business rate, you won't be paying business rate for 12 months either.
Right. They'd have to email us, because if they mail it, you know, we're not able to go into our offices to pick up things like
that. You can travel, unless you're self-isolating, you can travel and you can go out to do that. So you probably would need to just check that out a little bit. I suspect though, Margot, they will write to you. And with respect, I think I would only trust a letter. I wouldn't trust an email. The scammers out there, well, you guys know, you're all in this, you know, just the things that they won't do to get money out of people just disgust me.
That's a walk to the office.
Yeah, walk to the office, hop in your car to the office, avoid public transport to your office, but do try and make sure you keep an eye on that. Do feel free though, Margot, I don't know who your local authority is, to pick up the phone and have a chat with them. Yeah. They might not be able to give you further answers at this stage, but they will, somebody somewhere will be able to help you. And I suspect it will be the business rates department, whomever they are, will get that for you and get it sorted. Okay, but great if you can get that. That would be really helpful for you. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
I keep seeing mention of the British Bank. There's a mention of a British bank.
So the British Business Bank is where the big pot of money is sat. So where the government gives them a big pot of money and they then pop it out to people to lend effectively. The British Business Bank doesn't lend itself. What it does do is it allocates money to various institutions to get that money out to the right place at the right time. So the banks have some of that money, the alternative lenders have some of that money, and all these lenders have to apply for it, and it comes in at a fixed rate. And that rate will, I don't know what the rate is off the top of my head, but the rate will vary from lender to lender, vary from risk to risk. So you've all heard of Funding Circle, I'm sure. Now Funding Circle have thousands of people all giving money to then lend out to you guys. But what Funding Circle also do with their high risk policy is they go to the British Business Bank and they get a small pot of money from them, which they can also lend out automatically. And so they kind of have two platforms of where that money comes from. And this is about the government being able to get a higher rate of return. So where you have it go to the bank, for example, and they securitize something on your house, let part of that money pot that they're using just doesn't come from our savings, which basically a lot of the money does. It comes from various institutions and the British Business Bank, and part of their risk management and their pricing structure is based on what they have to return to these people, and that's how they get the money. So that's how the government owns a bit more money, and that's how money gets put into the system. Because let's face it, we wouldn't want them lending just our savings right now. That could be disastrous for us all. So yes, it's so that's where it comes from. So they're an institution of their own, really, Chris, I think is the answer to your question there.
Okay.
And it's an institution that then puts money out. There are a couple of things. As an enterprise finance guarantee lender, the banks are and some of the other lenders, the 40 that you will see on the British Business Bank web pages, they're opening that up to people to apply to become lenders. So this money that we're talking about, this faster coronavirus business interruption loan, not a snappy title, is it? It's not really. I like to call it the CFG rather than the EFG. So the coronavirus finance guarantee, basically. Other lenders are coming into the marketplace, so they will be able to access this insurance against the money. And that's all it is. It's not money, it's the insurance is what they're accessing, and not money. So it's the insurance that the government is backing, basically.
Okay.
That makes sense. It's very complex. And if last week and the week before, if you spoke to your bank about an EFT loan, they'd be like that, yeah, because the paperwork's like this, and it takes them ages, and they don't earn enough money off it, and it's complex. Okay. This week they've got no choice. It's interesting. Brilliant. They're going to hate it. Good.
Excellent.
Okay.
Anybody else got any burning questions? Okay, Sharon, that was really useful. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
How can, if anybody needs to speak to you directly, how can they get in touch with you?
You can call me whilst we're all working remotely and from home. Somebody will answer the phone somewhere, hopefully, and put it through. Probably not me. But my phone number is 01494. I'll put it in here, shall I? I don't know what it is. 494 410165. So that's my phone number, and my email address is sharoncook@choicebusinessloans.co.uk. There we go. I think I typed that correctly. I feel pressure when people are watching me type. You're all judging me typing as I speak. Or you can just go to our website, choicebusinessloans.co.uk, and the contact details will be on there. Any of us should be able to assist you, but obviously I'm more than happy to help you myself. So feel free just to pick up the phone, drop me an email. Any other way that you can get hold of me is fine. Happy to help, happy to give some advice. I will keep Chris only updated, so running it individually, but he'll be able to get that information out to you as soon as physically possible.
That'll all be going out the C19 Survival Channel on the Salat. Excellent. Sharon, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for taking the time out. Hope you found that useful. The one that I mentioned that's coming up with the accountant that actually just focuses on agencies, his big thing is going to be around cash flow. So where Sharon was saying where you need to put a cash flow forecast together, that's where he'll focus on how to do that if you're applying for any of this money that's available. Yeah. Excellent. Well, brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day as much as you can.
Thanks very much. Thank you.